Good morning, Namaste to all. Namaste tradition, this is a very much Indian tradition which was introduced 4,500 years back by the Harappans. I am an archaeologist and we keep excavating the ancient sites. And basically I have done a lot of research on the Harappan civilization which flourished from 6000 BCE, that is almost 8,000 years, till 1500 BCE. So this is a very long span of the Harappan culture, and there is one phase of the Harappan culture which was the most prosperous when the Harappans developed cities and towns, urbanization, and most of the characteristic feature of the Indian culture, they were developed by the Harappans. And therefore I believe that the Harappans are the founders of the Indian culture, not only Indian culture, but what we call as the Indian knowledge system. The roots of the Indian knowledge system go back to the Harappan times. So we have done a lot of research on the life of the Harappans, then also the reconstruction of the Harappan knowledge system, and then how that knowledge system is relevant today. So I am going to discuss about that today. So in this basically I am talking about the Harappan town planning and how that town planning is relevant today. There is a very good classical example at the site of Dholavira. Now this is the map in which you can see the Harappan area. Perhaps this was the largest civilization in the ancient world, contemporary to the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians. But the area that was occupied by the Harappans was almost double the size of the Mesopotamians and Egyptians put together. So such a large area, and these are the people in fact who developed and who propounded the concept of nationhood. So the nationhood concept goes back to the Harappan time, and there are of course we have discovered more than 2,000 Harappan sites so far, being archaeologists, and then also we have excavated some selected sites, and one of the important sites that we have excavated so far is the site of Dholavira, which is in the Kutch part of Gujarat. And recently this particular site has been identified as one of the World Heritage Sites, to be precise, 41st World Heritage Site in the country. And that site has a unique town planning. These are the ancient sites. This is how the ancient sites look like. They are in the form of mounds, and in these mounds the remains are lying. In fact, they are buried in this mound, and these remains are excavated by archaeologists, and we try to reconstruct the history, life of these people based on the on these evidences. Now, Harappans or the Indians have contributed immensely to the history of the world and history of the South Asia, and one of the important technology or the knowledge that was introduced by the Harappans is the modern construction method or the scientific construction method. Now that is called the English bond. But this particular English bond method was introduced by the Harappans, and we have studied, in fact, from the remains, we have studied how the construction method was adopted by the Harappans. So in the English bond, one line of the brick, which is being followed all over the world, in which one line of the brick is placed maybe horizontal, next vertical. So that is the way of constructing, and that is the method which was introduced by the Harappans. We call this as English bond, but English people were not aware about this till recently, and we propose that it should be called as the Harappan bond. So we have a lot of evidence from different sites, and then of course the other important knowledge or the system that was introduced by the Harappans was the unique maybe drainage pattern or the civic amenities. And this is again unique in the world, because for the first time they introduced this. The only thing that we need to learn from the history, but sometimes we do not learn that. I have excavated one site called Rakhigadi in Haryana, and when I move to the village, sometimes I get the impression that I am moving in the Harappan village. There is so much similarity. Only thing that the Harappan drainage pattern was so impeccable, very well laid. And we are not learning from this, because you can see in the modern villages or settlements, the drainage water is spread in the street. We should learn. Then of course they have introduced some basic crafts and some of the basic knowledge. And one of the important crafts that was introduced by the Harappans was the painted pottery tradition, and this tradition also continues even today. They produce a lot of this type of stone beads made of semi-precious stone, and these beads were traded in fact with the Mesopotamians and Egyptians all over the world in fact. And then of course some of the typical art that was introduced by these people include this, and also the copper technology, metal technology, that was also mastered by these people. Even the bronze was produced by these people for the first time in this part of the world. And of course they have introduced some maybe basic maybe concept of the health science, and one of them of course is the meditation concept, and we have a lot of evidence of that. Also the yoga tradition. Yoga is considered to be the best gift of India to the world, and this particular tradition was introduced by the Harappans, and this tradition continues even till today. Then of course I will come to the site of Dholaita. Now this site is so important because we get to learn so much. I always advocate in fact that those who are town planners and the students of architect, they should learn in fact about this particular site, because a lot of things, a lot of elements can be incorporated in the modern town planning system. So this is how the mounds look like. We excavate them, the remains are buried inside, as I mentioned. And of course at this particular site we could identify the gradual growth of the Harappan culture in fact, from the village life to the city life. And the perhaps one of the most important cities located in fact in the ancient world. Now what is important? This particular city was located in the desert part, and even today there is a small island called Khadir Island in Kutch, and it is all completely barren land. But Harappans had to develop this particular city here, because Harappans did a lot of trade, and one of the trade route was between Sindh and Saurashtra, and this was frequently maybe traveled by the Harappans. So they wanted to establish this particular city, and they were aware that time that there is a dearth of water there, but they made sure that there is always running water available by using the very ingenious technology at this particular site. So the other elements of this include the the strong fortification walls or the fortified city. Then of course there were very elaborate gateways. But what they did in fact, before establishing the city, they studied the geography and geology of this region, and then only they decided to locate this particular city between two small rivers. One river is called Manar, and the other river is Mansar, and between this river they located their city. And that they on both the rivers they put series of check dams, and they follow the gradient pattern from slope, and they put they place their different small check dams on that. And in the desert part there is occasional rainfall, but whenever there is rainfall, maybe these rivers get flash floods. And this is the photograph I took during the rainy season. This is how the floods come. And then of course Harappans put maybe series of dams. Maybe they must have used even wooden logs for this particular purpose. And then suppose what they did in fact, they diverted the entire water of both the rivers inside the settlement. But in case there is a water coming in huge volume, then they also have created the storm drainage water system also, so that it does not really damage. And this is very important, very scientific part of the town planning, and this is even followed even today. Then inside the settlement they dug underground water reservoirs, and the site was spread over an area of 80 hectares. It was divided into three parts. and in each part we find this underground water channel system and water storage system. And you can see these are the water tanks of different sizes and shapes. So we have excavated a lot of these, and you can also see the exact how the city was planned. In fact, very well planned, meticulously planned by the Harappans, and this reservoir is also located in a very strategic position inside the city. These are the different tanks that we have excavated at the site, and then of course they also join these different tanks by underground water channel system, so that that the tanks can be filled in after one or another whenever there is water coming inside. And you can see the volume, in fact, with a huge volume of water was coming, because the excavated underground channel system is almost 7 feet high and 3 feet wide. And you can see the stones. In fact, they have used stones for the construction, so the stones also have been eroded because of the flow of water. So you can imagine how much water was flowing. And also what they did, in fact, they have provided, in the other picture you can see, they have provided these air ducts in this water channel system. And air ducts are required for maintenance, cleaning purpose, and also to prevent the blockage. And this is very much scientific. So this is a part that they have introduced. And what is important here, that in spite of the fact that the city was located in the desert part, they have made sure that there is a running water available inside the city. They have created that water system, water management system, water harvesting system at the site. And they have not only sustained there, in fact, but they kept maybe flourishing at the site in spite of these very adverse climatic condition. So I have brought this to the notice of the town planners and these people who matter most, that this system, the Harappan water harvesting and water management system, is so important, and it can be put to use even today. There is a small town called Rappar, which is 110 kilometers away from this particular site. So between Dholavira and Rappar, there are hardly 4 or 5 villages, and people are not establishing settlements there, mainly because there is a dearth of water. But we have been suggesting the town planners and the administrators that adopt this particular system. The system is so relevant. It is built by the Harappans for the people, by the people, which is important. And it does not really require a lot of funding. Even you don't need to collaborate with some foreign countries for this particular technology. This is very much Indian technology, and that can be put to use. And by putting this particular system in use, perhaps we can convert these lands, like the Kutch part of Gujarat, which is a desert part, into a green land. So this is the relevance of the system that we have followed. And I will recommend that those who are really interested, they can visit this particular site, and the remains that are excavated, they are still visible. You can go and visit this particular site and maybe enjoy this particular site. So thank you very much. I appreciate the efforts taken by the students of this institute, by the authorities, and also I thank all of them for inviting me here. Thank you very much.